नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीरुत्तमं श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10th, Chapter 7, Text 7. अधशयानस्य शिशोरनुल्पका प्रवालमृद्वाङ्घ्रिहतं व्यवर्तत विध्वस्तनानारसकूप्यभाजनम् व्यत्यस्तचक्राक्षविभिन्नकूबरम् अदर्शयानस्य शिशोरनुल्पका प्रवालमृद्वाङ्घ्रिहतं व्यवर्तत विध्वस्तनानारसकूप्यभाजनम् व्यत्यस्तचक्राक्षविभिन्नकूबरम् अदशयानस्य शिशोरनुल्पका प्रवालमृद्वाङ्घ्रिहतं व्यवर्तत विध्वस्तनानारसकूप्यभाजनम् व्यत्यस्तचक्राक्षविभिन्नकूबरम् अदशयानस्य शिशोरनुल्पका प्रवालमृद्वाङ्घ्रिहतं व्यवर्तत चक्राक्षविभिन्नकूबरम्। Mataji's. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Lord Sri Krishna was lying down underneath the hand cart in one corner of the courtyard. And although his little legs were as soft as leaves, when he struck the cart with his legs, it turned over violently and collapsed. The wheels separated from the axle, the hubs and the spokes fell apart, and the pole of the handcart broke. On the cart there were many little utensils made of various metals, and all of them scattered hither and thither. Purport: Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented on this verse as follows: When Lord Krishna was of a very tender age, his hands and legs resembled soft new leaves. Yet, simply by touching the hand cart with his legs, he made the cart fall to pieces. It was quite possible for him to act in this way and yet not exert himself very much. The Lord, in his Vaman avatar, had to extend his foot to the greatest height to penetrate the coverings of the universe. And when the Lord killed the gigantic demon Hiranyakashipu, he had to assume the special bodily features of Narsimhadev. But in his Krishna avatar, the Lord did not need to exert such energy. Therefore, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. In other incarnations, the Lord had to exert some energy according to time and circumstances, but in this form He exhibited unlimited potency. Thus, the handcart collapsed, its joints broken, and all the metal pots and utensils scattered. The Vaishnava Toshni remarks that although the handcart was higher than the child could easily touch the wheel of the cart, and this was sufficient to send the demon down to the earth. The Lord simultaneously pushed the demon to the earth and superficially broke the handcart. Om Agyan Timirandhasya Jnanan Janashalakaya Chakshurur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Shri Chaitanyameshwaram Paramananda Madhavam. Translation. Once again, Lord Sri Krishna was lying down underneath the handcart in one corner of the courtyard, and although his little legs were as soft as leaves, when he struck the cart with his legs, it turned over violently and collapsed. The wheels separated from the axle, the hubs and the spokes fell apart, and the poles of the handcart broke. On the cart there were many little utensils made of various metals, and all of them scattered hither and thither. Hare Krishna. seek the blessings of all the devotees. Absolutely not qualified to sit here and speak something on the 10th canto. A disclaimer that whatever I'm going to speak, nothing are my words. Whatever I have heard from senior devotees, I'm just trying to repeat. Please forgive me for my any audacity or discrepancies. In India, there are many billboards seen all over, and especially if you go right across Pedder Road, you get to see most of the time this Amul butter billboard. So once there was one billboard advertising Amul butter, and in this they had advertised Krishna stealing butter, and they had made a cartoon where Krishna's ears, and she's asking question. She's asking question to Krishna, why did you steal butter today? And Krishna, the cartoon replied by saying that, mother, it's because you don't feed me Amul butter every day. So, this is the scene in India, a land of dharma, where, it's, even the most exalted pastimes of the Lord are taken so cheaply, or just portrayed so cheaply. But Sanatana Goswami, he mentions that that there are various incarnations of the Lord, and all the incarnations of the Lord has two characteristics. One is primary and second is secondary. So he says that one should never forget the primary characteristics of Lord. Whether Lord is appearing in a fish incarnation or a dwarf incarnation or an incarnation as Swayam Bhagwan Krishna in a little boy form or Bal Gopal. So he's saying the primary characteristic is he is always Ishvara or controller. So one should never forget this primary characteristic. That's why Damodarashtakam, it begins with Namami Ishvara Sachidananda Rupam. So that is the primary characteristic of Lord. Lord always, he is par excellent in his controllership over anybody else of this material world. So the scene here is that now already the 5 days have passed almost, and Parikshit Maharaj has practically, say, very little time, say 48 hours in his hand to before he leaves his body, and he doesn't want to waste a single moment. And when only few hours are left, he is actually asking Shukdev Goswami what he wants to hear. Right at the beginning of this chapter, he's asking Shukdev Goswami that Atha anyad api Krishnasya toka charitam adbhutam manusham lokam asadhya tad jatim anurundatam. He's requesting Shukdev Goswami that I want to hear those childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna, and if you so desire, please continue to speak. And why he is speaking this, why he's asking this question is because just after Shukdev Goswami completed the narration of killing of the Putna demon, the last verse of that chapter, Shukdev Goswami gives Falastuti, where Shukdev Goswami is saying that Shrunuyad Shraddhaya Martyo Govinda Labate Ratim, that whoever hears this pastime with faith will attain great attachment to the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. Now, it is said that when generally a Falastuti is explained or described, that means the speaker is going to stop describing the further narrations. So as soon as Parikshit Maharaj heard Shukdev Goswami giving Falastuti for this chapter, for this wonderful Leela, he immediately interrupts Shukdev Goswami and then he says, Yena yena avatarena Bhagavan Hari Ishvara Karoti Karna Ramyani Manogyani Chana Prabhu. That my dear Shukdev Goswami, that there are many incarnations of the Lord. But all of them are, the pastimes of their lordships are very, very pleasing to the ears and pleasing to the mind. So please continue speaking. And then he speaks this verse, Toka Charitam Adbhutam. Especially, I don't want you to stop, because he was under fear that Shukdev Goswami might start discussing other incarnation of the Lord. So he is interrupting Shukdev Goswami and telling that, please, I want to continue. I want to hear, continuing especially the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna. And we saw this advertisement, no? It's all, people actually take it so much for granted. But here is Shukdev Goswami, who is just about to leave his body or leave this material world. He wants to immerse himself in the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna. And one more thing is that almost 5 days have passed. He has been fasting from water and food, but still his energy levels are quite high. He's maintained his enthusiasm, what he had maintained right at the onset of Srimad Bhagavatam. He's saying this verse, Tamopayantam Pratiyantu Vipra Gangacha Devi Dritachittam Ishe Dvijopashusta Kuhakas Takshakova Dashatwalam Gayata Vishnugata. Let that Takshaka bird come right now and bite me, but please continue singing the glories of Lord Vishnu. And 9 cantos have passed, and again he's repeating the same in a different way. He's saying, Tadeva haram vadamanyate chet. Please continue speaking. So his enthusiasm or his energy levels have not gone down. In fact, his desire to hear Krishna Gatha or his intense greed to hear Krishna Gatha has increased many folds. He will be in rapt attention. Generally, we see when we are fasting, initial few hours are really good, really enthusiastic, but then the belly starts asking for food, we start losing focus, mind starts looking at the eyes start looking at the watch, mind starts looking, when is the next Parna timing, so on and so forth. But here is Shukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, who is so absorbed. The reason being his physical hunger was completely overpowered by his spiritual hunger to hear Krishna Katha. And that's what made him continue here. In fact, in Ayurveda, there is a term, it's called Achar Rasayan. Rasayan in English is called elixir. That which Chavanprash, Rasayan, different Rasayans which help a person give a lot of nourishment. And if you take those Rasayan, it actually increases your lifespan and stops aging process, so on and so forth. So here there is a term called Achar Rasayan, where it says that even if you may not take those Rasayans which are prepared medically, but if you follow certain conducts, if you behave in a certain way, then those Rasayan will have the same effect in your life. It will nourish your body, it will nourish your mind, it will nourish your soul. This beautiful verse, it says that Satyavadim akrodha nivruta madhya maitunat ahimsaka anas anayasam prashantam priyavadinam japa shaucha paradhiram Dana Nitya Tapasvinam Deva Go Brahmanya Acharya Guru Vriddha Archane Ratim. And then it says Shastachara Asankirnam Adhyatma Pravanendriya Dharma Shastra Param Vidyat Naram Nitya Rasayanam. It says that if you are actually chanting the holy names, if you are actually being truthful, if you are constantly in touch with Dharma Shastras and Pravanendriya, if you have controlled your senses, Adhyatma, you are constantly immersed in this in understanding spiritual science, then automatically your body is being nourished. So here is Shukdev here is Parikshit Maharaj. What can be a better Shastra? What can be a better Dharma Shastra than hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? And who can be a better a king who is following these noble virtues than Parikshit Maharaj? So definitely, because he was absorbed in Krishna Katha, he was being nourished internally. Now, so this verse number 7, actually describes or mentions Lord's omnipotence. One of the opulence out of the 6 opulence Lord has, one of the opulences Lord is omnipotent. Before that, it is mentioned that Vidvasta Nana Rasakupya Bhajanam, that all the utensils which were there on the cart were filled with go rasa, means milk, curd, and related to cow's product. And Acharyas explain why did Krishna kick the cart underneath, above his body. So here the word used is rasa. Acharya says that the utensils were filled with go rasa. But there is another meaning to this go rasa. Go also means indriya. So when Krishna saw go rasa above him, he is trying to tell that there is no rasa, especially indriya rasa, above me. So he kicked especially that indriya rasa for the whole world to know that he is Rasraj. And second thing, he wanted to prove to the whole world that he is the highest of all rasas. Raso Vaisaha. So no other rasa can overpower or be above him. So that's the reason Acharyas tell us that he actually kicked the cart. So Krishna here is with his soft leg, tender like leaves, is just touching the cart, and that cart is turning over. He's manifesting this opulence of omnipotence. Now, if you see the word omni means all, potent means all, powerful. So omnipotent means one who is all powerful. Now, in a certain religion, Judeo-Christian religion, there is a saying that God is great. But Prabhupada would ask this question: how is God great? Nobody mentions that. How is God great and how great God is? There are two different meaning to it. How is God great means what makes him great. And how great is he? That means what is the magnitude of his greatness. Somebody may say Prime Minister is great. Now what is the magnitude of his greatness? That 120 crore people under him follows what he says. That is his greatness. That's how great he is. So when Acharyas say that uh, God, how great God is. That refers to Lord's unlimited energies, or especially the Lord manifested His greatness, His magnitude of greatness in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita by exhibiting His universal form, Virat Roop, where He is enveloping practically entire universe, everything, and everybody is being completely under His control. In science, there is a terminology called space, which is measured three-dimensional length, breadth, and height. Then they added something called as time. It's called as composite time space. So Krishna not only exhibited his prowess by showing the Virat Roop where he's conquering the whole space, but he also exhibited, one of the aspect of Vishwaroop is he exhibited his Kal Roop. So when Arjuna saw Krishna's Kal Roop, two things happened in Arjuna. His emotions changed from affection to astonishment to fear. He was astonished by seeing Krishna's Vishwaroop, but when Krishna showed his Kal Roop, then he became fearful. And the second thing that changed in Arjuna was that his form of addressing Krishna. Initially, Arjuna addressed Krishna as Twam. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava pruchhami Twam dharma samuda cheta. Now, Twam in Hindi is tu. But then, when Krishna revealed his universal form, at that time, Arjuna changed his address to Krishna from Twam to Bhavan. Now, Bhavan in Sanskrit means Aap, a very, very respectable personality. So, this is the effect of sheer power of Vishwaroop, where Krishna exhibited his control not only over space, but also over time. And another aspect of God that we discussed is, how is God great? That means what makes him great? Scripture explains, Parashya Shaktir Vivadaiva Suyate Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. It's natural. The bal, the jnana, the kriya that Lord does. It's not imposed upon, it's not forceful. So, energy, what the scientific world today call energy, has a different meaning altogether in what energy refers in the Vedic text. In the outside world, energy just refers to some element which having no form. Or say, it is said that there are two aspects in existence. Matter and energy. Matter is something which has form, and energy is something which doesn't have form. But here, when a scripture refers to energy, the dimensions are much more higher. The understanding is much more higher. Here, energy also refers to a person, a form. So when scripture says Parashya Shakti Vivadaiva Suyate, it refers to many servants of the Lord who are eagerly waiting to serve at every moment. So for Krishna to exhibit some power, he doesn't need physical strength. Like Prabhupada's, one of the Prabhupada disciple, she came up with a painting of Krishna lifting Govardhan hill. And she portrayed Krishna having a very broad chest, strong biceps, triceps, very thin waist, having 6 packs and whatever. Because she had a concept of Nandulal Prabhu was saying, Roman god. Roman gods look like a god of strength, look like that. And when Prabhu, so she also portrayed Krishna in such a way. So when she came up to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, this is not what Krishna looks like. Krishna doesn't need any physical prowess, physical strength to demonstrate his prowess. That's why Govardhan Leela is so special. It is said that Govardhan Leela, Krishna, the lifting of Govardhan, is remarkable in 4 ways. The first is that Krishna never practiced lifting, Krishna never practiced weightlifting. For a person, if he wants to actually lift something, he has to practice for quite some time. And he has to begin with very less weight in the beginning. And then go on. After practice for years and years, then he can lift 200, 300 kgs of weight. And when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, he just lifted so effortlessly. That's what Prabhupada says. He doesn't need any effort. He doesn't need to exert any energy. He just lifted. Bhagavatam explains, he just lifted as if a child lifts a mushroom. Or an elephant just plucks a lotus flower. What is difficult? So when Krishna lifted, when suddenly somebody lifts for the first time some heavy weight, he'll start having pain in abdomen, especially lower abdomen. Many of our brahmacharis in kitchen working, they complained of this hernia. Why? Because they lifted so much weight. Krishna, when he lifted Govardhan for the first time, he never complained of hernia, or when he ate so much butter, milk, ghee. Shukdev Goswami doesn't mention he had a cholesterol problem, or when he took bath in Yamuna, he didn't complain to Mother Yashoda, please give me cold rain. That is never a case in Krishna's pastimes. Swabhaviki. So the first is, he lifted, the first remarkable quality in Krishna's lifting Govardhan pastime is, he never actually practiced weightlifting. Second is, he lifted Govardhan Hill for a longer period of time than any other weightlifter could lift. Whatever Krishna does, he does extreme. Nobody can even dare come closer to him. What to speak of beating his record, crossing his record. Krishna marrying 16,108 wives. If you actually see, it will take 5 years. It will take 5 years to again repeat. I mean, if you are staying with so many people, it will take 5 years for a person to again stay with one wife one night. But Krishna, he's expanding himself just to prove Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. So all these pastimes demonstrates Krishna's, as Nandulal Prabhu was saying, Krishna's sweetness and Krishna's greatness. And when we understand Krishna's greatness, that's when we understand our insignificance. Otherwise, till that time we are only boasting, how great I am. So it's very important for us to keep hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill for 7 days and 7 nights, much longer period than any weightlifter can lift any of the weight. And third is, and when a weightlifter, he lifts some weight, there is a immediate change in his facial expression. He exhibits this grunting mood, and especially his jugular vein starts protruding out, and he's completely absorbed in his internal struggle of lifting that weight. And here is Krishna. When he lifted Govardhan Hill, lifting was just a side activity that was taking in the back. On the contrary, he was fully available to reciprocate with his devotees. If a weightlifter is lifting some heavy weight and if somebody disturbs him, he will immediately put it down. And here is all the gopas and his friends, disturbing, not disturbing, but they are trying to assist Krishna, thinking Krishna will get tired. They're trying to assist Krishna by putting their sticks. And Krishna showed that who is actually lifting Govardhan. Some of the coward friends thought actually it's because of us. And Krishna immediately just, for a second, just took aside and the whole Govardhan hill started shaking and their sticks broke apart. And the fourth quality is that Krishna lifted Govardhan hill with the most powerless limb of his body. It's like he crushed Indra's pride actually by showing what is his strength. Indra tried showing his power. Krishna, ekadina mana Indra ko maryo, ekadina mana Indra ko maryo, nakha upar Govardhana dharyo, nama padyo giridhari, Radhe Shyam Shyam Shyam. So Krishna not only lifted Govardhan with his little finger of his left hand, but Acharyas explained that he lifted Govardhan hill with the tip of his nail of the little finger of his left hand. When somebody says, "Arey, ye to mere baएं हाथ का खेल है," Krishna could have said, "ये तो मेरे बाएं हाथ की छोटी सी उंगली के नाखून के टिप का खेल है." This is Krishna's wonderful greatness. So, but unfortunately, people think that this is mythology. Just because they can't do it, just because they don't see people around them doing it, they think it's mythology. But a simple example to refute that argument is, just as for an ant to lift this Srimad Bhagavatam is too much. It's beyond his or her comprehension. What to speak of understanding the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam for that ant? No way. Similarly, but for us, it's easy. It's not difficult. It may be difficult to understand or comprehend 5th canto, but it's at least easy to lift Srimad Bhagavatam. So for Krishna, it's as easy, just as we are lifting this book. But we are like those tiny insignificant ants who can never comprehend somebody who can lift a huge mountain. So nothing is impossible. Impossible is not a word in Krishna's dictionary. And because people think that we don't have it, we can't do it, so maybe nobody can do it. What are people in this world crazy for? Money? Brahmaji says, Lakshmi Sahasrashatatam Brahma Seva Manam. His energies are unlimited. Hundreds of Lakshmi are just waiting, thousands of Lakshmi are just waiting for his glance. What people are looking for? One shot of arrow by Cupid? Brahmaji is saying, Kandarbha Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. That is Krishna. But just because we can't conceive it, we just think it's too much. It's mythology. What is Krishna's fame? He is Adi Purusha, who existed before anybody existed ever, and he is still worshipped. What is his fame? He is still worshipped in 4 directions even today. That is his fame. So, so there is nothing to be no nothing to be proud of in this sense, where Krishna really humbles just through his wonderful pastimes. In fact, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was telling this wonderful pastime he had with Haigriv Swami, Haigriv Prabhu, when he was on his last moment, spending his last days. So Maharaj went to meet him, and Haigriv Prabhu is saying that, out of his humility, he was saying that that when I was young, I was thinking how great I am. Uh, I was thinking I was the first person who ever met Prabhupada in the world of ISKCON, and I was thinking I'm the what is it, editor, and he was out of his humility saying this. But then he said that for some time I was drifted away, and I was thinking I could do what I thought I can do. But then just see my position now. My whole body is completely being eaten up by cancerous cells, and I'm completely helpless. And now, when I need the most, the only person that can come to my help is Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. And now Prabhupada has come in my life in such a wonderful way. And then he asked, is there anyone to whom you can turn to accept Krishna? Is Krishna God? And then he said, if Krishna is not God, then all the saints, all the acharyas of all the sampradayas, of all the religions of the world, they are liars. All the religious texts that proclaim the supremacy of the absolute truth, they are liars. Can this ever be true? This can never be true. And then he laughed, and then he said, yes, Krishna is God. Ishvara, that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Krishna exhibited his omnipotence in all incarnations. You know, when Hiranyakashipu, he performed severe austerities, Brahmaji benedicted him to have a body more powerful than a thunderbolt. Now, Indra's thunderbolt has a power to even crush into powder mountains. But when Indra threw his thunderbolt over Hiranyakashipu's body, not a scratch, or he was least affected. That was the power Hiranyakashipu had. And what did Narsimhadev do to kill Hiranyakashipu? What did Narsimhadev use to kill Hiranyakashipu? Just some nails. His lotus feet, it is explained, Tavakara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam. A contradiction is seen. His nails are like sharp weapons, but his hands are like Karakamal, lotus-like. How can a contradictory thing manifest in one personality? Krishna, his legs are soft like tender leaves. But with those soft legs, he can actually kill a demon like Shakatasur. How is it possible? So it is said, all contradictions are resolved in the absolute truth. In fact, what the Upanishad says, what is that verse? Tad ijjati, tad na ijjati, tad dure tad antike. That Lord is inside and outside. Lord is far off, at the same time simultaneously within. Whom does those Upanishads refer to? Refers to Krishna. So Hiranyakashipu was killed just by the nails. Now, nails also can rip apart a flesh. Nails can never rip apart a mountain. Hiranyakashipu's body was much more powerful than a mountain. This is something very interesting. When Ramchandra, he requested Samudra Dev. For 3 days, no reply came. Just by his mere glance, Samudra Dev started fuming up and just made a way for Ramchandra. When Krishna was in Dwarka, Ashwathama came one day. And because he's a son of Brahmana, so Krishna gave him a royal hospitality. And after that, Ashwathama approached Krishna and said, "My dear Krishna, let's strike a deal. Why don't we exchange each other's weapons? I'll give you Brahmastra, you give me your Sudarshan Chakra." Krishna said, "Okay, I don't want your Brahmastra. You may take Sudarshan Chakra if you want. Sudarshan Chakra is just lying here. You can carry and take away." And as soon as Ashwathama tried lifting Sudarshan, no wonder he could not even dare budge an inch. So a materialist or a demonic mentality, people think that Krishna derives power from his weapons, what he carries. Like Krishna carries, Narayan carries Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. But it's the other way around. It's not that Krishna derives power from Sudarshan Chakra. When Sudarshan Chakra comes in the hands of Krishna, Sudarshan Chakra derives power from Krishna. Like when we were small, we used to watch this cartoon film He-Man. He-Man, the master of the universe, something like that. And this He-Man would remove his sword, and all the strength he had was in that sword. So what the enemies would do, they would try to take away his sword, and he would become powerless. So that's not the case with Krishna, where Krishna's strength Krishna's strength lies apart from his existence. Few of religions, they give this cheap argument that if Krishna is God, if there are so many demigods, if they are controllers, why do they need weapons at the first place? Why can't they control, or why can't they safeguard themselves on their own? They don't need weapons. So answer is that they just exhibit these weapons. They don't need actually those weapons, but their Ichha Shakti is enough to kill somebody. But because they are here to exhibit their wonderful leelas, pastimes, they actually carry those weapons in their hand. Otherwise, absolutely they don't need it. And that's what Krishna actually showed when he was in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, there is no mention anywhere in any of the scriptures where Krishna actually used Sudarshan Chakra. Krishna did not wanted to make Brajvasis fearful. He did not want to disturb his sporting activities. So he just killed all these demons, with his limbs, especially Trunavata. Trunavata thought that I'll take Krishna for a ride, and after some time he realized that actually Krishna is taking me on a ride. And Trunavata, he said that, let me hold Krishna. But actually it was Krishna who was holding Trunavata. And then Krishna became so heavy, heavier than a mountain, and he just dropped. Radha Govind Maharaj says, Bhagwan jisko pakadte usko chhodte nahi. So Trunavata tried escaping, but once, because he had caught hold of Krishna, Krishna did not leave him. Or say, Keshi demon, he just uses feast. Putana, Krishna did not have even teeth to hold something, to grasp something. He just demonstrated his all-powerful quality or all-powerful opulence just by holding through his jaws and lips. What was Putana's body? So Putna's strength or Putna's arms or her body was nothing in compared to Krishna's power of jaws. This is Krishna. So Krishna here in Vrindavan exhibited this quality of Angani asa sakalendriya vritti manti. What your hands can do, Krishna can do with his eyes, or Krishna can just do with his jaws or just teeth or whatever. And for Krishna, killing was, or Krishna for to defeat any demon was 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 not a very tough fight. It was very easy. It was like they would kill every demon just before the lunch. So killing of every demon was like an appetizer before they could hold a grand feast. So this is what is Krishna's omnipotence. Doesn't need any help from outside. So I just thought I'll just speak something from this verse, where here Krishna kills this demon called Shakatasur. I was hearing one wonderful lecture by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. Maharaj gave amazing lessons from this pastime. So I'll just, with few minutes we have, I'll just try to, in brief, speak a few lessons. It is said that of all the demons in Vrindavan, most of the demons, they came in disguise. Like Arishtasur, or we say Putana or Vyomasur, many. Similarly, Shakatasur also came in disguise. But Shakatasur coming in a disguised form was more dangerous than any other demon disguised. Because when Arishtasur came, everybody could make out that he is not an ordinary person, he is a demon from his power. Bakasur came, they could make out from their power or from their huge bodies. Shakatasur just appeared in a very, very harmless form as cart. And cart which was just filled with some utensils. So externally, we see there were so many carts in Vrindavan, so many chairs lying there. Nobody can even predict that there could somebody entering some cart or some chairs or some table or whatever. So Shakatasur entering into a cart was a very high quality of deception, where nobody ever thought that here a demon can reside. So Maharaj was saying that how Maya, definition of Maya is that which is not. Many times we may just get allured by seeing externals, but we don't know what exactly lies within. And even the most innocent, Maya can take a most innocent form and try to distract somebody away from Krishna. So it's a very, very important lesson to learn that, especially nowadays, how these cigarette companies, they manufacture or they sell their products. They just make people appear that the cigarette is just a stick. They will cover the whole paper which is flavored or which is sweetened, sugar coated. And cigarettes are coming in different flavors. Strawberry flavor, Cadbury flavors. This is what I was told by some devotee. So externally it appears a simple stick, but internally there is such a deadly poison lying It's nobody can even predict. So what they are drinking is nothing but sweetened poison. So, I mean, this lesson could relate to devotees in many ways. The second lesson that we can learn is Yashoda Mai, she thought that this cart is the right place for my child to take rest. She thought that this is the safest place. Nobody will disturb my child. But what appeared to be safest place turned out to be most dangerous place. And so Maharaj was saying that actually there is no safety in this material world. We may think this is safe place. This is no. This is where I will invest my time, my money, my energy. But it's actually there is no safety within this material world. There's a beautiful pastime that took place with Prabhupada. In Lilamrita, this is mentioned that Prabhupada was in Delhi. This pastime, Prabhupada is trying to show that how there is danger at every step in this material world. So Prabhupada was talking to a reporter in Delhi, and suddenly there was a blackout. And this reporter started, he became restless, and he started saying that no, there is a war between India and Pakistan for weeks, and that's why there are some drills and warnings taking place, there is sirens going around. And this reporter, in a tensely mood, he told to Prabhupada, this is the presence of reality. We are being threatened by this fight with Pakistan. The siren is the ugly reality coming for us. Prabhupada said, we are always in the ugly reality, 24 hours a day. Suppose there is no blackout, still, if you go to the street, there is no guarantee that you will get home. In this way, you're always in the ugly reality. Why do you say only this blackout? This is just one of the features of this ugly reality, that's all. The reporter said, yes, but at the moment, Prabhupada interrupted. You do not realize that you are in the ugly reality 24 hours a day. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. There is danger at every step. Reporter, I know, sir, but this is a collective national danger. Have you anything to offer us as a remedy? Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is our only remedy. Take to this process and you will be happy. Reporter, sir, I think someone should go to Yahya Khan, the president of Pakistan. Prabhupada said, what benefit you will derive by going to Yahya Khan? Reporter said, someone is out to kill me. Prabhupada said, but suppose Yahya Khan does not kill you, will you be safe? Then what is the use to go to Yahya Khan? You will die today or tomorrow. If you want to save yourself, then go to Krishna. That is our proposition. Even if you go to Yahya Khan and he does not fight, then you mean to say that you will live forever? What is the use of flattering Yahya Khan? He's saying, flatter Krishna so that you will be saved perpetually. Why don't you do that? And the whole conversation continued. Prabhupada, he was convinced of this fact, and he wanted to convey to us that there is danger at every step. Nothing in this world is as safe than to being in the association of devotees, to have wonderful Sangha of the deity's holy name. Or, in fact, Maharaj said that even if one is not careful or attentive, then even the safest place like temple can turn out to be dangerous. So how attentive we have to be in our every action, every dealings. And then one more lesson, Maharaj was saying that when we become off guard, when we start thinking that everything is good, everything is safe, I am well protected, that's when the enemy will attack at the least expected moment. And beautiful example is given during World War II. This American army, they thought that they are safe, and they were having a party somewhere else, and suddenly Japanese aircrafts, uh, they attacked and practically destroyed the American naval base, because they never thought that this could ever happen. They thought now we are safe. At the least expected moment, they just attacked. One more example was from Mahabharat. This very powerful fighter called Kichak. He he wanted to enjoy Draupadi, and he was so powerful. But Bhima was more intelligent than him, and Bhima he decided a plan, and he disguised himself as Draupadi. And when Kichak was in his most weakest position, sense gratification weakens a person's mind, and was in the most weakest, in a very weak position. That's when Bhima pulverized him completely. So, 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 if we are inattentive, that's when the disaster can happen the max. And one more lesson I was saying, I'll just end within 3 minutes, saying that these demons, all different demons came to kill Krishna. Similarly, there are demonic influences that are trying to kill Krishna, or trying to kill our remembrance of Krishna or our dependence on Krishna. So we have to actually take shelter of Krishna. Only He knows, where the demons are hiding, especially our mind, where the demons are hiding maximum. It is said that the weapon of mass destruction destroys thousands of bodies, but the weapon of mass distraction kills thousands of minds. What is this weapon of mass distraction? Mass media. This mass media distracts the mind of a conditioned living entity aimlessly and endlessly, so that this person can never go deeper into his life. So the best way to be freed from the distraction is to absorb ourselves completely in Krishna's holy name. And but just to end, people are fascinated by the word power and power drink or willpower. So much power is there in those words itself. Previously we had coal engine, then came diesel engine. Those engines were run by some horsepowers. Now we have electric engine. So physically if we try, it's difficult to push a wagon which contains tons and tons of baggage. But with the intelligence, an engine that is created can actually pull tons and tons of wagons. So in physical there is no strength, but as a person goes more deeper and deeper, subtle, mind, intelligence are much more stronger than the physical strength or physical power. And it is said that subtlest of all is the soul, which gives that strength for mind, intelligence and everything to work. So what is spiritual science? Spiritual science is an art of connecting ourselves to the subtlest. Who can be more subtlest than God? Of the 5 Panch Mahabhut, Prithvi, Jal, Tej, Vayu, Akash. Akash is the first to come up. And the Panchatan Matra is Shabda. From Akash comes Vayu. And the Panchatan Matra is Shabda and Sparsha. From Vayu comes Tej or Agni. Panchatan Matra is Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa. All these qualities come up. From Tej comes Jal. Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa comes, Ras manifest. And from there, from Jal comes Prithvi, Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha. So of all the five elements, ether or sound is the subtlest. So the best way to connect to the subtlest is the sound vibration or the sound element. That's when we can connect ourselves the most to the subtlest of all, that is God. So Mahaprabhu said, Namnamakari Bahudani Sarva Shaktis. All the power of Krishna is there in the holy name. So we can actually access the power of Krishna by taking shelter of his holy names. So just to end, I'll just tell you this small story. This person, it's a very interesting one. A coach of a football team player, his name was an American football team player, Vin Lombardi. He was given a contract of becoming a coach in one of the American teams. So when there was this famous coach coming in contact with a very famous team, people thought this is a great explosion. The combination will be great. It will be very great. So they just asked, interviewer asked him, what sutra or what plannings you are going to employ in order to make your team excellent. And he just said, my sutra is very simple. Be brilliant in your basics. So this is what we have to apply. If we just focus on our basics, then that's where success lies in spiritual life. I'm so sorry to go beyond my time limit and my realization, but I thank you all very much for your kind patience and attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.